Greetings everyone and welcome to another lesson. Today we're going to be focusing on thesis statements, which are essentially the backbone of essay 1, or really any essay for that matter. Everything you write in this essay is going to be growing out of your thesis, okay? So it's really important for us to slow down and get this part right. Now, a strong thesis statement will help your reader understand what you believe, why you believe it, and where your essay is going. Let's get started. Okay, a thesis statement is the main idea of your essay, and more importantly, it's a claim that you are arguing. This isn't just a topic or a summary of the readings. That's really important to get down, okay? It usually shows up near the end of your introduction, and it tells the reader what position you're taking and how you plan to support it. Now, a good thesis statement will do these three things. It'll make a clear claim, it's arguable, meaning someone could disagree with it, and it gives us a sense of directions. So where your essay is going to be going, what is the path that it's going to take? Think of it as a roadmap for both you and your reader. Now, let's talk about what a thesis statement is not. Okay, a thesis statement is not a fact. An example here is Disneyland is located in Anaheim, California. That's true, but there's nothing to argue. It's also not a question. Now, your essay answers a question, but the thesis itself is your answer. A thesis should not be too obvious or overly general. For example, smoking is bad for one's health. Now, it also shouldn't be an announcement, like this essay will discuss hustle culture. Your reader should be able to clearly see your argument without you telling them what you're about to do. Okay, let's talk a little bit about broad generalizations. So this is where a lot of students struggle. As you know, a thesis can't be too broad. For example, saying hustle culture is harmful to society. It's a starting point, but it's too vague. So a stronger version would explain how and why it's harmful. For example, hustle culture harms workers by normalizing burnout and shifting responsibility away from employers. So this version is much more specific, more focused, and easier to support with evidence from the readings. You're going to be reading those later, okay? Okay, so let's talk about the process. So one way to get a strong thesis is to start with a question, especially one from our essay prompt. So think about, should society continue to define a person's value primarily through paid work? Think about the readings and ask yourself, what issues keep coming up? Is it burnout, economic insecurity, lack of social support? Finally, turn your answer into a clear argument. So a helpful sentence frame is, I'm interested in blank, and one big issue is blank. So my argument is that blank. And remember, your thesis can change. In fact, it's probably going to change as you draft and revise. That's why it's super, super important for you to revise your thesis in the beginning, in the middle, and definitely at the end, because we can always work backwards, go back, and ensure that our thesis matches with the rest of our body paragraphs. Okay, so here we have a topic under consideration. So which our topic is hustle culture and work. Now our issue is where your essay tends to become debatable. So for example, instead of just talking about hustle culture, you might argue that society should not define a person's value solely through paid work. This is the shift from what the topic is to what you believe about the topic. That shift is what turns a paper into an argument instead of a summary. Now, the last step is combining your position and a reason. So usually using a because clause, which we have right here. For example, society should not define a person's value solely through paid work because it promotes burnout, ignores unpaid labor, and shifts responsibility away from institutions. So this kind of thesis works well because it mirrors the essay structure. Each reason that is listed will become a body paragraph, which will make your essay much easier to organize and write. Okay, here we have an example thesis statement. So a strong thesis statement could look like this. Society should rethink how it values work because hustle culture prioritizes productivity over health, normalizes economic insecurity, and discourages collective solutions such as UBI. So as you can see, our main claim is that society should rethink how it values work. Followed by our first argument, hustle culture prioritizes productivity over health. The second one being normalizes economic insecurity. And finally, discourages collective solutions such as UBI. So notice how the thesis clearly answers our essay question and previews the main points. Those previewed ideas will help guide your body paragraphs. Okay, so try it. Go to the essay prompt, choose one of the essay questions, and just begin drafting working thesis. Make sure you do this in your digital journal so I can kind of see what you're working with. And remember, it's a starting point. Your thesis is going to evolve as you read, write, and just think more about the issue, okay? So don't get too scared just yet. Okay. Finally, let's compare a weak thesis to a strong one. So saying hustle culture is bad for people is vague and hard to prove. A stronger version explains why and how. Like hustle culture is harmful because it glorifies overwork, discourages rest, and shifts economic risk onto individuals. This kind of thesis gives you something concrete to argue and support with evidence from the reading. All right. Thank you so much, and I will chat with you all later. Bye-bye.